The Sam Hyde Show. Check it out.
The Sam Hyde Show.
Train by day, the Sam Hyde Show. By night, all day.
I'd really like to refer to all of you, the viewers, as button-mashing psychos. We're not quite there yet. I can detect that there's 89% of you who are not smashing that like button right now, smashing that YouTube notification bell. A large percentage of you have never so much as even gently caressed, let alone smashed, the subscribe button. Guys, hit the subscribe button right now. Help us out, okay? I need to buy a piece of bread. I need one piece of bread to sustain myself, which means I need about 50,000 of you to hit the subscribe button. I even heard a nasty little rumor that people are afraid of our bell in particular. Is that true, Valentine?
That's what I've been hearing.
They think they're going to get canceled. But they're not. What's actually going to happen is if they hit the bell, it's going to be a whole cool new thing like Dime Square. Our guest tonight spent over 7 years living with the Piraha people in the Brazilian Amazon, studying their language and culture, adapting to their ways, adopting their mores and their savage beliefs, sampling their women.
There were offers made, but no.
Okay. Along with more than a dozen other Amazonian languages. Good thing you're Googling him right now while the episode's rolling. He originally traveled there as a Christian missionary to translate the Bible into Piraha and became one of the few outsiders ever to speak the language fluently. It's a doctorate, like a PhD,
right,
in language? It's
a PhD in the science of language, linguistics.
That's pretty serious.
Well, it took a lot of work.
Well, if you're a chiropractor, we're going to call it chiropractor doctor.
I have a grandson who's a retinal surgeon.
Just be real. Should we call you address you as doctor?
No, I always go by Dan. I don't like my students. I tell my students, I'm already old. I don't need a title to make me feel older, doctor. But, in some parts of the world, people insist on being called doctor. I find it sort of childish.
Yeah, but some of them insist on it without the proper justification. Like if you're a doctor in lesbian studies, you should probably just be called shade.
Yeah, well, it's like if somebody calls for a doctor on a plane, I would not stand up.
The study of language is pretty serious, though.
The not real doctors would be like, it's doctor.
I think
Dr.
so, yeah.
Evil,
yeah,
Dr.
people get hung up on titles. My view is that if you need to be called doctor, it's because you really haven't done much.
I think by not calling you doctor, you're actually robbing us of the fun of saying doctor to somebody.
Well, you can call me doctor,
It's also making the viewers and the fans think you're just some bum.
Yeah, I hold.
This guy's a doctor.
He's a G.
Yeah.
This guy's a real G.
I'm a doctor. I have been a professor for 47 years at various institutions.
Right. There we go. Just to make it clear.
Yeah.
Over his years in the field, he lost his own religious faith and now identifies as an atheist, probably from witnessing savage rituals?
From talking to the Piraha and learning about their standards of evidence, what it takes for them to believe something, and realizing that my beliefs didn't meet their standards, and that caused me to think a lot about why I believed what I believed.
They are more scientific than you were.
That's right.
His work on Piraha became the center of a major academic controversy after he argued that the language lacks recursion, challenging Noam Chomsky's theory of universal grammar and prompting a long-running public dispute. He is trustee professor of cognitive sciences at Bentley University. Sounds fancy. In Waltham, Massachusetts, where he served as Dean of Arts and Sciences from 2010 to 2018. He is the author of Don't Sleep, There Are Snakes, Language, the Cultural Tool, and How Language Began. Please welcome Daniel Everett. Applause track. Luke Ryan's applause multiplied 1,000 times. Before we get into your work with Amazonian languages, let's start with your love of languages. What is it about language that fascinates you? Is that a fair assumption that language fascinates you?
Yeah, language has been a part of my life since I was in third grade. I grew up on the California border with Mexico.
You were nonverbal before that?
I was interested in English. I spoke English well, but I started because 83% of the students in my grammar school were Mexican Americans on the border. So I heard Spanish all the time, and these people spoke English fluently, but then they would among themselves speak Spanish, and it bothered me that I didn't understand that. So I made it a point to learn Spanish.
They were plotting on you.
Well, we would be playing football, and
they'd be plotting.
Yeah, exactly. You couldn't understand what they were saying, and one of them would run out and start yelling to the quarterback in Spanish, "Mira, Jose, mira," and I had no idea what he was talking about. So
you got
I
to pick
wanted
that
to know.
up when you're in a war zone. You better learn that.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I needed to learn it.
What are your top 5 favorite languages?
English, Spanish, Portuguese, Piraha, and a smattering.
What's possible? Portuguese.
Yeah.
Gobra de fauch. Mobra sal de fauch. That means if you a man, eat my.
We'll beat that out.
That was too much. But are you like those languages?
I love those languages. I feel as comfortable speaking Portuguese as I do English. And Piraha is about the same. They mean a lot to me.
How would you pronounce that word? Is it montage?
The N has to be a nasalization.
A nasally montage?
Yeah.
That's disgusting. They do that on purpose?
Yeah.
Can you say it?
Montage.
Oh, that's gut-wrenching. Montage.
2000, a número 1 do Brasil.
What does that mean?
Hurricane 2000, the number 1 of Brazil.
Yeah.
It sounds like he's speaking and it's being reversed. It's going,
Furacão 2000, número 1 do Brasil.
What languages are you fluent in?
I'm fluent in Portuguese and English and Piraha. I can understand, when I'm speaking Spanish with somebody, I can understand it perfectly. My only problem is that I sometimes insert Portuguese words, and I now don't realize I'm doing it. And so I was talking to a friend of mine from Mexico, and he says, "You think you're speaking Spanish, don't you?" I said, "Yeah, I'm speaking Spanish." He said, "There's a lot of Portuguese in there that I don't even know what you're talking about."
That's funny. They feel like the gringo when they're listening to you.
Yeah.
They don't even know what's going on.
Yeah.
Hitting them with a furacão.
Right.
These languages, you like them?
Yeah, I like them because in every language, there's an interpretation of the world that's built into the language, and so you get words that you don't find in other languages. There's a Portuguese word called saudades, which means that you feel nostalgia, but it's more than nostalgia. It is
sexual nostalgia.
It can be that too. If you really miss someone, you say, "I have saudades of you," and if you miss your childhood, you say, "I have saudades of my childhood." So it has a wide range, but closely, somewhat related meanings. But that's just one word. In Piraha, there are words that you certainly don't find anything like them in English. So it's a challenge. And
what is there in Piraha that would be interesting?
Well, there's a great word called ibipio, and that word means something that has just come into experience or just gone out of experience. So if someone's going around the bend in a river, and just the second they disappear, you say, "He ibipio left." But as he's coming back, when he comes right around the river and everybody can see him for the first time, you say, "He ibipio arrived." And if a match is flickering, you say it's ibipioing. It's coming in and out of experience, which is a really interesting word that encapsulates a lot of Piraha culture and philosophy.
Is it not the case that that's more simplified than English?
They don't have all the concepts we have. They have no words for number. They have no words for color. So they don't have even the number 1 in their language. But they have, every Piraha knows the name of every single plant and animal in the jungle, and they know its behavior. So their knowledge of their environment is phenomenal.
Specialized.
And they can do things we can't do in English. They can whistle their language. They can hum their language. They can carry on a full conversation with their mouth full, humming. They don't have to open their mouth to talk. Whereas if we try to talk in English, we can choke to death because when we speak, our trachea is open. And when we're eating, our trachea should be closed so the food doesn't go down to our lungs and kill us. So if an English speaker is talking and eating, they can choke to death. Whereas a Piraha, they can hum. They can carry on a full conversation while they're eating. Just one little advantage.
That strikes me as like cartoonishly kind of like primitive and...
Well, let me give you another example. In English, there are 5 forms for every verb maximum. Sing, sang, sung, singing, sings. That's it. Mm-hmm. And verb like hit, you just have hit, hit, hits, hit. I mean, it doesn't do much. In Spanish, you might have 45 to 55 forms for every verb, conjugating the verbs. In Pitaha, you have about 65,000 possible verb forms, which is almost impossible to comprehend, but there are many Indian languages, native languages of the North and South America, that have complex verbs like that.
Can you give an example briefly and explain why that is either a good or a bad thing, or what that says about them as a people?
If you ask me, is John here? I might respond, no, he's not here. Okay, but in Pitaha, you would say, Hisowa kahape sibiga, which means he left, I saw him leave. There's a suffix on there that means I saw him leave. Or I could say he left, hiai, which means there's a suffix that means somebody told me. Or I deduce that he's gone because his canoe's not here, which is hai, which is a different suffix. So the verb lets you know how solid the evidence is for anything that's being said according to the speaker.
What's the raw version again, with no twist on it?
Hisowa kahape, he just left.
He just left, and what's it with the...
If I want to say that I saw it, I just say Hisowa kahape sibiga. Or if somebody told me Hisowa kahape hiai.
And that's tacked on to the word.
It's part of the word.
Okay.
It's like in English, the past tense is ed.
Yeah.
So that's our suffix, but we don't have many of those because English uses more words. Mandarin doesn't have any suffixes really. They just have separate words for everything. And English is a lot like that.
You want me to sit in for this?
As opposed to what?
As opposed to not being part of this, they didn't pay me anything. That will
Yeah,
work.
no one will be able to tell who it is. Quick question. How much control do you have over your money right now? Technology has changed everything, and now it's changing how money works. Crypto started as a niche, but now it's going mainstream. Faster payments, more control, fewer middlemen. This isn't hype, it's just where things are going. And getting started today is easier than you think. With Rumble Wallet, you can buy Bitcoin, hold dollar-backed stable coins, even own a digital gold backed by real gold, all in one place. It's a non-custodial crypto wallet, which means you, not a bank or a platform, control access to your funds. Setup is simple. It connects with MoonPay, so you can use your debit card, credit card, or bank account and be up and running in minutes. And for a limited time, you can start your wallet with $5 in US stablecoin, USAT, by downloading the Rumble wallet and entering my exclusive promo code, SamHyde5. When you sign up now. You can even use your Rumble wallet to support your favorite Rumble creators, like me, directly. So do this now. Scan the QR code, click the link in the description, or go to wallet.rumble.com/SamHyde and download Rumble Wallet. From there, you can set up your wallet, enter promo code SamHyde5 to get your $5 in US stablecoin. This is a limited time offer, so act now. Take control of your money. Get started with Rumble Wallet today. Terms and conditions apply. See the description below or visit rumble.com/promoofficialrules for details. And that one's mandatory.
After spending 7 years in the Brazilian Amazon, isn't that like hell?
Well, it's a very challenging environment. It's 90 degrees every day and 99% humidity. So it's like walking around with a warm, wet blanket on you all day.
Why the were you doing that? And weren't you getting like by bugs all the time?
I have a picture of me somewhere with no shirt on, with over 200 wasps on my back, just sucking the sweat off.
Dude, why were you down there?
Well, I originally went as a Christian missionary. I had a conversion experience, leaving drugs for Jesus back when I was 17, and for quite a few years, I wanted to translate the Bible for people who didn't have access to the Bible. And
what drug were you doing in, what was it, the 1950s?
Well, 1960s. I was doing a lot of LSD.
Doing acid?
Whoa.
Yeah, I took a
Research
lot
chemicals.
of LSD. In fact, I met the first missionary I was standing out in front of a Jimi Hendrix concert in San Diego in 68, 67, with a little baggie with LSD, selling that to get the money to get in.
Mm-hmm.
And she came up with her boyfriend. She had been raised in Brazil, and that's how I eventually went to Brazil after meeting her. And
Here's a question. Was she hot?
Yes.
In your mind, was there some part of this where you're like, I'm going to go to Brazil and get a hot girlfriend?
Brazil certainly has
To be honest
a
here.
large number of gorgeous women.
What happened when her boyfriend EBP'd out of there?
I was begging for money. I was panhandling outside the concert besides selling stuff.
Hey, can I get some money? Can I get your number? That probably works better than, hi, my name's Jeff. I went to college. I have a job.
Yeah, well, her boyfriend gave me $1 and he says, when I get this back, I said, you're not getting this back. What
So
are
you
thinking?
cucked him with the language instantly.
Anyway, so he wasn't her boyfriend much longer after that.
What the hell are you talking about? Did you shack up with this girl?
LSD.
Well, we became pretty serious with each other pretty quickly.
Man.
Yeah. Yeah.
A guy begging for money takes your girl.
You should erase the boyfriend from the story. That's tragic. What happened?
I thought it was pretty funny, but he was dressed really nice.
You're not even safe if you dress nice.
Suit.
Some crusty ass drug addict can just walk up and pull the old, can I have $1 scam?
Well, she said she liked guys who were misbehaved, so...
$1 and a dime you got that day, Danny. Yes. So is this whole, your career, it could be seen as one long acid trip, the result of...
Yeah, I mean, acid played a major role in changing my thinking, but it wasn't what took me to Brazil, although while I was in Brazil, there were times when I could have easily been on an acid trip just seeing what was going on around and talking to the people and hearing about their beliefs and learning their language and seeing how being a
Where's the timeline of this? You took this guy's girlfriend, then what? You bopped off to Brazil?
No, 1968 or so, boyfriend and girlfriend. We finished high school. I started college because you couldn't be a missionary unless you went to college to translate the Bible. So you had to learn something about languages and translation and the Bible. And so after about 4 years of college and then 2 or 3 years of jungle training in southern Mexico, how to survive, survival camp, and things like Survivor. You know, we did that kind of stuff. Then we were ready to go to Brazil.
By we, you mean you and the girl?
And by that time, 3 little kids.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when we arrived in the jungle, my son was 9 months old, and my middle daughter was 3, and my
goodness.
oldest daughter was 6. My son is now the Dean of Arts and Sciences at the University of Delaware, but they were all raised in the jungle. All my kids were raised in the jungle.
Completely insane.
Well, it's what happens when you believe in the supernatural and that you're gonna be taken care of.
Did you all have good lives?
We did. We had good lives. We all had malaria. That's me and that's right. Not too long after
That's
we met.
her?
Yeah.
Oh, man. What a beautiful family. What is this?
This is the Maisi River where they were raised.
The guy that lost her, what did he do, himself?
I don't know, but we were. Yeah, I left my rock band for her to become a missionary and became this cool-looking guy in
You
that
guys
photo.
are beautiful. Look at that.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Good job. Here you are with your slaves, directing them to
Yeah, that's not a
make you
good
hut.
photo, but we were cutting the airstrip, and I had
All
to
right,
show 'em-
slaves, fix my plane. I'll be on the boat. I'll be on the river gambling
Yeah,
boat.
right. Anyway, this is the river where my children were raised and where I lived for many, many years. And I still, the best way to go to sleep at night is for me to imagine myself floating down the river with no boat and just thinking of the things I'm seeing on the side and the creatures in there.
How long did your kids stay in the jungle?
Well, they stayed until they were teenagers.
So that probably made the rest of life very easy by comparison. Like that's like playing life on easy mode once you return to civilization.
Yeah, their education was homeschooling and Brazilian school and some missionary school. So they had a wide variety of that. They were used to a lot of change. And when I took my kids back to the States, when we moved back to the States finally to live in '88, the school said, your kids have had this weird education. We're going to put them all back a grade. I said, actually, you could put them ahead 2 grades. They're going to outperform any student you have here. And they all graduated at the top of their class because I was my daughter's English language and history teacher, and I asked her how good a teacher was I, and she said, well, I would wake up hoping I would die before our lessons. So I wasn't that good a teacher. I hope my college students think better of me than she did, but I was not a patient person in those days. I'm very patient now because I'm old.
Were you in the Amazon when they were filming like Fitzgerald?
No, but I met Werner Herzog after that and talked to him about the film and filming in the Amazon and stuff at the Telluride Film Festival.
Have you seen the Wild Thornberrys cartoon?
No.
You kind of remind me of that. I just grew up watching it.
Oh, really?
And very similar.
I lived in Brazil off and on for over 30 years, and I've worked with 20 different Amazonian groups, but the Piraha I've worked with the longest. I have a new book coming out next year called Born of the River, which is just stories told by Amazonians from like 20 different tribal groups about life, about childhood, and about being a teenager and killing snakes and hunting with blowguns. And
That's
short
you
stories.
right there.
Oh, right, yeah, that's...
Did you see any money from this?
No,
Ripping off your
unfortunately,
image.
no.
Nicotine usually means smoke, icky, vapor. Ooh, how's the popcorn lung? Or a pouch full of mystery ingredients. We don't like that. No. Knick-knack is the cleaner alternative. A fully dissolvable nicotine lozenge. Not a pouch, it's a lozenge, baby. Each knick-knack contains just 6 premium ingredients, listed clearly on the back for you to read and peruse, with real essential oils for real flavor. They got that good oil. There's no smoke, no pouch, no plastic, and no waste. Knick-knacks come in 3 and 6 milligram strengths and 9 flavors. If you can't find a flavor of knick-knack that gets you going smick-smack, you got a nasty, dirty-ass tongue. So they're discreet and easy to use wherever you are. You could use them at a wedding or a funeral. Nobody's gonna know that you have a nicotine lozenge soaking up in your tongue, examining a lemon flavor. And you could be packing with lemon. They ain't gonna know shit. You can be sucking a lemon. Knick-knack is the cleaner alternative, a fully dissolvable nicotine lozenge, a little lip brick, if you will, made in the USA by a family-owned company. These are USA made. Ooh. Ah. Go to knickknack.com/Sam Hyde and use code SAM for 20% off, or use the store locator to find knickknacks near you if you're an IRL guy, if you want to go cop in person, not from a robot. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical!
Any brushes with death out there?
Yeah, quite a few, actually. I have been nearly bitten by snakes, very poisonous snakes, several times. I've had malaria many times. I've had typhoid fever. When we first moved into the tribal area, they didn't want me there. Our first stay, after a couple of weeks, they all got drunk because a Brazilian riverboat came up and got them all drunk, and he gave them a shotgun to kill me because I interrupted his exploitation of them.
Whoa.
So I woke up and I was already speaking some of the language, and I said, this doesn't sound good. They were saying they were going to kill me. So I got up and put on my gym shorts and my flip-flops and walked through the jungle around to where they all were. And I said, hey, how y'all doing, in their language. And I started picking up their bows and arrows and machetes and stuff like that, and walked back to the house with all the weapons, and before they realized it, because they were really out of their heads drunk.
Wouldn't that make them want to kill you more?
Well, no, because he had the arsenal. was armed.
They said
to
he's
the
got
teeth.
all the stuff. They always thought I had a gun too, which I never took a gun in. I never took any kind of weapon in with me. But they wanted me there because I did first aid and some medical help. And when their children would get sick, they would bring them to me. And a lot of children lived because we were there. And they recognized that. So they didn't want me to leave. I had to adjust my behavior. I was an asshole missionary. And I thought I had the right to tell them what to do and that kind of thing. And eventually they schooled me and helped me realize that if anybody was an ignoramus, it was me. And I needed to listen and I needed to learn. And once I got that through my thick skull, we became very good friends.
In what way were you pushy or bossy or thick-headed?
Well, river traders would come up, and the Pitahas favored the men. They would work days in a row if you'd give them a bottle of whiskey. They loved to drink. And the Brazilian Indian Agency told me before I went in, alcohol is illegal for Indians, and if you see somebody trying to give it to them, put a stop to it. So I saw them drinking on a boat, and I went on the boat, and I said, it's illegal to sell them alcohol. You can't do that. And they were really mad at me for doing that. And that was the last time I ever did that, because that's why they almost killed me.
Sheesh.
This like transcends like a little tribe in the Amazon. This is kind of inherent to most groups of people. Like you see that in Rhode Island. Take
you don't
people's
want to narc
nips.
on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to take their nips.
No nips.
Well,
No.
nobody likes to be told what to do. And I also found out as I studied the Pitaha culture that they don't have the 10 Commandments, but if there's one commandment that they do have, it's don't tell people what to do.
Sounds like the opposite of a commandment, though, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Sounds like a sort of a
don't have any commandments.
guide to anarchy.
And don't lose your temper.
Don't lose your temper?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, if I raise my voice, which I sometimes do, even when I'm not angry, they will say, you know, why are you speaking so loudly? It sounds like you're angry. We don't like that.
When was the last time you were there?
I was there the last time in 2013, so it's been a while. I went there for the first time in 1977, and I spent 3 to 6 months a year with them from 1977 to about 2010, and then I would go back once a year from then. But in 2013, the Brazilian government put in another guy in charge of that area, and he asked me for an $80,000 bribe. He wanted me to buy him a brand new Toyota truck. Mm-hmm. And I said, I don't have that money. I can't buy you a truck. Mm-hmm. And I said, even the money I do have to spend is from the U.S. government, from the National Science Foundation, because that's what was funding my research. And I said, I can't do that. So he said, well, then you can't come back. Mm-hmm. So I was given permission to go back last year, finally, after all this time. But then the Pitahas killed 3 people who came in from the outside who came in to hurt them.
Who were the people they killed?
Well, they're people who moved onto very close to their reservation, Brazilians. Mm-hmm. And they were farming there and they had cattle. And the Pitahas still consider that their land. And the government or private industry put in dams along the Madeira River for the very first time, which is a river that their system is part of. And that dam disrupted the water so much that all the fish left, and so they were starving. So they knew that these people who were living on their land, in their opinion, had cattle and food, so they went up there and raided the farm and they killed a cow, and they took back meat, and they took chickens, and they took things from the field. And so the people who lived on the farm, 3 young guys got their shotguns and took off to teach these savages a lesson. Mm-hmm. But you don't go into Pitaha land with evil intent unless you really know what you're doing, and they still know what they're doing better than you do. So they knew the guys were coming, so they just pulled their canoes into the bushes and sat on the side, and when they came in range, they just shot them with arrows. One guy, the arrow just went straight through his head. I saw the video of him being brought up out of the water.
Can we show that clip?
Apocalypto. Just pull up Apocalypto.
Are you going to go back?
Yeah, I definitely want to go back. I keep getting invited back. They have a village that's very close to the Trans-Amazon Highway, which is actually technically off their reservation. So I don't need any permission to go there. I'm a permanent resident of Brazil. I have permanent visa, like the Brazilian green card. Mm-hmm. So I can see them there. and I don't need any authorization to go there. So I do plan to go there, and my ex-wife lives there, the one I met at the Jimi Hendrix concert, and she sends me videos of them. This is an interesting picture, that one. The guy who told me that I needed to bribe him to go back in, when I refused to do it and I was there, he sent in military police, and they came ready to arrest me until they saw that I did, in fact, have written authorization, and I was a permanent resident of Brazil, and I spoke Portuguese fluently, so they wanted to take photos with the people who were there with me doing research. So the guy on the far left, Mike Frank, is a professor at Stanford in psychology, and the woman, Jeanette, there is a professor at the University of Bristol in England. And these guys said, you can come back anytime you want, just bring more women, and that's what they were interested in.
Go brajal, de fauch. Are there any aspects to their culture that were sort of horrifying or disgusting?
There is a bit of culture shock. A guy was sitting there talking to me, and I saw a big cockroach start to crawl across his shoulder. A lot of cockroaches in the Amazon, a really big cockroach. And I said, what's that called? And he picked it up and he showed it. It says, oh, bite, and put it in his mouth and ate it. And I found that difficult to take at first, but it's just another form of protein. They don't have bathrooms or outhouses, so when you walk down a path, somebody could be taking a dump off to the side, so you just don't focus on them. If you see somebody naked, there are villages where they're all naked all the time, but in some villages where they have more contact, they wear clothes, because women walking around naked leads to rape, so they prefer their women to be dressed when they have a lot of contact. But if a woman goes into the river, or a man, to take a bath, that's fine. You can walk down there and take a bath with them, but just don't stare at them.
What are their relationships like? They're like pair bondings?
If a couple wants to live together, they just live together. If they're tired of living together, they stop living together. So I know couples that have been together for, as far as I can calculate, 40 years. And I know other guys and women who have been, we would say married many times. It's like Americans, it's serial monogamy. They are with one person at a time, but they could have several people over the course of their life.
Are there hyper-violent tribes in the Amazon?
All Amazonian tribes kill for a living. They don't kill people for a living, but they are good at killing. They know how to kill. They kill jaguars. A man alone walking in the jungle might have to kill a jaguar by himself. I know a guy who was holding off a jaguar with his blowgun while the jaguar is snapping at his head, but he killed that jaguar, even though the jaguar was ripping him up in the legs. These are tough people. They're like 5'2", 152 pounds, but that's 152 pounds of muscle. And they are in great shape, and they never miss with a bow and arrow. They're shooting the bow and arrow, men are, from the time they're 3 years old. If they want to kill you, they'll kill you. Somebody said, I had a guy in, another missionary, who heard a Piraha baby crying, and he said, that baby keeps crying. What would happen if I went over there and swatted its butt? I said, they'd kill you. Kill me? I said, yeah, you don't hit kids. They don't tolerate that. Well, how would they kill me? I said, well, they wouldn't say a word when you swatted the baby's butt, but as soon as you turned around, you'd probably get an arrow through the back of your head. They wouldn't confront me? I said, why would they confront you? You might hurt them. They don't give a jaguar a fighting chance. They're just going to kill you. But there are other groups that have had less contact, or people who come onto their land. There was a case when I was in Brazil with Kayapá people, where they went onto a farm that had come onto their land and killed 30 people. They killed them all with clubs.
A club job.
Yeah.
Within a lifetime, people can take on new names, sometimes given to them by a spirit?
The spirit is not the best translation. It's the translation I gave it, but it's a different kind of being. It's one of these creatures that is like a human, but it isn't a human, and I call them spirits because I didn't have a better name for them.
What do they call them in, what's Slender Man called? What do they call that type of thing?
Cryptid.
Cryptid.
Yep.
It's a cryptid.
Yeah, that's a good word.
So we do have a word for it. It's cryptid.
Yeah, I call them other entities, but cryptid is a good word.
Cryptid it would be the word to use here for like Sasquatch and...
Yeah, exactly. It's like people who've claimed to see Sasquatch.
Nick Cage with the guy.
Oh, that's great, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, they have some cryptids that take on different shapes. They can be a jaguar and
Skinwalker.
Some of them are shapeshifters.
They probably have Hat Man down there. This is a Slenderman.
Well, they describe some really weird creatures that wouldn't be too far off from that. I had a German magazine writer came over to spend some time with me, and he said he wanted to see one of these spirits. So I told the Piraha guy, I said, he wants to see one of the spirits. He says, okay, I'll go get one. And he walks off into the jungle, and he comes back naked, talking in a totally different voice, and he claims to be one of these entities. So he walks up to the German reporter, and he starts trying to grab his and he said, what's he doing? What's he doing? I said, I don't know. You wanted to see him. I didn't ask to see him, you know. These guys like to do funny things, and they like to offend real humans, you know. And
the spirits or the Piraha?
Well, see, the Piraha won't admit that that's a Piraha. Like, he'll come back later as himself, and I'll say, did you see the spirit? Did you see the thing? And I said, yeah. Didn't you see it? He said, no, I wasn't here.
It's like an Andy Kaufman thing.
It's sort of midway between theater and reality.
Well, that's the kind of joke that like a landscaper pulls on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't have left or right. They use toward the river and toward the jungle.
Yes, left and right and front and back, which are terms that we use referring from our body, are ambiguous. So we're facing opposite directions. What is my left is your right. So if I say turn to the left, meaning my left, you'll turn the wrong direction. They have their geography in their head, and they always know where the river is. They always know where the center of the jungle is. They always know where upriver and downriver are. So they'll say turn upriver or turn downriver. And if you're in the middle of the jungle and you forgot where the river is, you won't know what to do, but they don't forget.
Do you want to do a spooky story?
Are you?
I'm not going to do that.
Fun fact, the Piraha's favorite movie is Last House on the Toward the River, 2009 remake, and favorite Xbox game is Toward the Jungle for Dead.
They would love those movies.
This spooky story thing, Ryan, read through that one.
Dan, could you tell us about the time the entire Piraha village stood on the riverbank looking at an entity that you couldn't see?
One morning I woke up with a bunch of people standing on the riverbank, jumping up and down, talking loudly, pointing to the other side. And so I got up and I said, you know, what's up? They said, you can't see it, it's over there. And I looked and it was just beach, you know, I couldn't see anything. And then women came running and other people came up and everybody's screaming and shouting, pointing over there. And some people are really afraid, kids are crying, women are crying, men are looking sort of scared. I said, what is it? That's Igagai, one of a type of jungle entity. I never saw anything. So it took me years to figure out what that might have been. But Igagai is the kind of entity that can also be a jaguar. So the closest I can figure is that beach, which was right by the village, had a jaguar on it that has walked slowly back into the jungle. But I never saw anything, and they claimed that they were seeing it while I was looking, and I wasn't seeing anything. So I don't fully understand that.
Is it possible that you got PETA hanked? Because I'd be looking around for brown Ashton Kutcher. I'd be saying, am I getting pranked right now?
Yeah, but they were serious about it, and they were doing that while I was still sleeping. That's what woke me up. So they weren't doing that for me. And eventually, I saw that happen more than once. They came and got me once about 3 o'clock in the morning, and they said, there's an Igagai outside the village. We're terrified of it, but we know you're not afraid, so you go out there and chase it away. And I'm like the big, thinking of myself as the big brave guy, so I got my machete and walked out that direction, and they said, we'll be right behind you, but when I turned around, nobody was there.
That's funny.
That's before I knew that the number one form of an Igagai is a jaguar. So it was probably a jaguar they had just seen that I was walking out there with my machete, and the jaguar is going to weigh 350 to 400 pounds. They would eat the machete, so it was a good thing I never saw it.
They were setting you up to die.
That was a distinct possibility.
I would be pissed at them.
I would be upset.
Well, I was too stupid to know what was going on at the time. It was only later that I figured out what was happening. And they thought it was funny.
You're sounding like a malicious prankster.
Well, they would put me into dangerous situations to see what I could do. So they asked me one time, hey, can Americans die? Why do you ask me that? And they said, well, you're really old and you're not dead yet. And this is 20 years ago. I said, I'm not that old. They said, yeah, you look like you're about to fall down dead any day now. I cut myself not long after that, and they saw it bleeding. You've got blood. They were quite surprised by that.
These people sound like assholes.
I hate to break it to you.
Well, they're ethnocentric. They're
Based.
They like to see people of different colors and things, but they don't think much of Americans because I'm the main American they know, and I can't hunt very well. I can't hunt at all, and I'm not good at fishing. In fact, I'm not good at much. They consider Americans relatively useless. But everything I had, like all my electronics at the time, this was before laptops, so I had a tape recorder. It was the most sophisticated thing. So everything I had, they asked me, who made that? And I would say, Japanese. So then one day, a plane came into the village, and the pilot was Japanese. And they looked at him and said, what is that? I said, that's Japanese. He's the one who made all that stuff? I said, well, his people made it. They said, he looks like us. This is great. These are the best people. And so they think the Japanese are by far superior to Americans.
You should have told them that you made that. Is it true that they don't store food or plan meals?
Normally, there's plenty of fish in the river, so you get your bow and arrow and you stand up in your canoe and you wait for fish and you shoot them out of the river, and you can do that pretty quickly. And so they have all the fish they can eat, and they have, things in small fields that they have. But
do they cook them?
Yeah, they throw the fish straight onto the fire, but not everybody's successful every day. So if you don't get any fish, your friends will share with you, people in the village will share with you. So they don't smoke it to preserve it, and they don't dry it. They just eat it fresh, and they share with it. So if you get 20 fish, you're not going to eat 20 fish. Your family's not going to eat 20 fish, so you share it with everybody.
Would they typically cook it or just eat it straight off the bone?
They cook it.
They cook it, okay.
They just put it whole on the, sometimes they gut it first, but they put it whole on the fire, and they just sit around the fire picking off pieces as it cooks.
How many of these people did you manage to convert to Christianity?
0. Nobody. I was a very unsuccessful missionary, and I'm very glad. I'm happy now that I didn't convert anybody, because
you'd have to convert them back to atheism.
Yeah. So
you'd
when
have to show them Neil deGrasse Tyson videos until they relent.
So when I became an atheist, when I gave up all religion and I was with them, I said, I don't believe in God anymore. And
did they all clap and cheer? They laughed at you?
Yeah. They said, so now you're like us. Yeah, I told them a story about my stepmother committing when I was in my missionary mode.
And you're trying to bum them out?
Well, I wanted to tell them about how God can take us through hard times. And I finished telling the story of the they all started laughing. And I said, why are you laughing? And they said, you people yourselves? That's the stupidest thing we ever heard. Who in the world themselves? So they just found incomprehensible.
Damn.
What's their lifespan like?
You figure out life expectancy by including infant mortality, and they had before we went there, high infant mortality. But when people survive childhood, they can live into their 60s and 70s. Wow. So you see a lot of old people in the village, but you don't see all the children who died before they were 8 years old.
Right.
Did that contribute to your becoming atheist? Like, what was the moment that kind of pushed you?
Well, the guys came in, a couple of men came in one time. They said, we want to talk to you. I said, okay. They said, so you keep telling us about Jesus. Was Jesus white like you, or was he brown like us? I said, well, some people say he was white and some people say he was brown. They said, but you saw him, so what did he look like? I said, I never saw him. They said, your dad saw him. I said, I don't know anybody who saw him. So why are you telling us about him? You're telling us to believe in somebody you never even saw. That doesn't make any sense for them. And I started thinking about that, and I said to myself, that's a pretty reasonable reaction. What evidence do I really have? So they don't make assertions unless they have evidence for it. You can ask them, where did you, so they don't have conspiracy theories and stuff like that. They're like people from Missouri, the show me state. You got to show them or they don't believe it.
But they don't have like a prevailing mythos either? They don't like believe in any sort of...
No, they have no belief in God. They have no belief in anything. The world is structured in layers, the universe. So when I first got there, I asked them the word for ground, and they said Miggy. And then I asked them the word for sky, and they said Miggy. And I thought, I must be hearing something wrong. Can't be the same word for ground and sky, but it's because for them the universe is layers, and this is a barrier, and that up there is a barrier, and above that barrier there's life, and below that barrier there's life. They assume. They do claim to see human-like creatures in the jungle that aren't really human, and so I'm sure they see something. I don't think it's what they claim they see, but they don't have a firm distinction like we do between fact and fiction. If they have an impression of seeing something, then that is real. If they have a dream, that's real. A novel wouldn't make any sense to them. They wouldn't distinguish between a novel and history, because if you tell somebody something, you must be speaking the truth.
Top 3 horrific Amazon tribal facts. Number 1, refreshing jungle beverage. Not all but many tribes of the region make a beer-like and not too strong alcoholic beverage. The women of the settlement all group up and spit into a large pot with a small amount of grain or corn at the bottom until it is full. This ferments in the tropical heat until it is considered ready to imbibe.
Yes, I've had that.
Was it good?
No, but I did have it, and then I got typhoid fever, and my blood pressure dropped to 60/40, and I vomited and had diarrhea for about 3 days. But anyway, I had it.
Number 2, the legend of deception. A commonly warned about spiritual danger of the region is to never follow the appearance of the one you most trust if that person shows up unexpectedly. This is an ancient evil that will greet you at the edge of the forest and walk ahead as you follow, only to disappear the moment you are too far in to make it back out alive. Could take the form of someone living or dead.
That's a very common belief. The Pitaha don't have that belief, but many other groups do. In fact, many of the Brazilians who live in the region have that belief too. They share it. In my first year there, a large number of boats came up and docked downriver from us, and all the men went off into the jungle, and I asked them what had happened, and this one boat owner said his son had followed one of those creatures, his 15-year-old son. And the other thing about those creatures is that their feet grow backwards. So you think they're leading you out, but they're leading you into the jungle even further. And so they never found this boy, and they put all the blame on that exact spirit.
The doppelganger.
Yeah.
Number 3, the dreaded Amazonian fish. Actually a small parasitic catfish naturally found in the gills of larger fish. Its danger lies in its minute size and small dorsal spine that is used to attach to its hosts. There are reports of this species entering and attaching to the inside of the penises of unwary men crossing jungle rivers.
It also swims up the vaginas of women, so it's not just, it's not sexist, but it's called the kanjiru. Yeah, and it's got little spines, and actually they can grow quite large, but when they're smaller, there are reports of them swimming up the stream of urine and into the penis, but they can only be surgically removed. So if there's no surgeon nearby, you're out of luck. You're going to have to go in, and they're extremely painful. I've known people who've had them. I fortunately never had them, but they are found. My sea, where the Pitaha live, is a blackwater river. The river looks dark tea colored. That has fewer minerals, and therefore it has less life. On the big rivers that are muddy, they have many more minerals, and so they're much richer in life, so you find those kanjiru everywhere.
What do these guys do if they get one of those?
I've never known a Pitaha man to get that, because their river doesn't, it has them, but because my stepson went down with me to the village a few years ago, and he went out fishing, and he came back with a large kanjiru. So it had lived its whole life and was now large, so you didn't have to worry about it anymore, except attaching to some part on the outside of your body, but they suck your blood. So that's one of the many kinds of things you find in the river. It's full of life, and a lot of that life is dangerous to us. So it's good to know what you're doing when you're in the jungle. I've almost stepped on snakes many times.
Did you have a hard time readapting to life in the United States after you left?
I've moved back and forth a lot, so the adjustment is pretty easy for me. But when I first came back to the U.S., I gained 20 pounds because I had never seen fast food in almost 6 years. That was a big adjustment to eat, because I ate healthy the whole time I was in the Amazon.
And you were sweating.
Yeah. You're using your body all day. You're sweating, and you're drinking water and eating fish. So
they have clean water, I'm guessing, right? Like from
waterfalls. I mean, we treated it. We had a filter, but when I'm traveling the river in my motorboat, I just have a cup and I just drink straight out of the river.
No kidding.
I've never gotten sick.
Have you done any sort of breakdown of how informationally dense, say, a sort of biggish paragraph-sized sentiment or informational structure is in Piraha versus English?
Yes.
Which one's more informationally dense?
English, by far. English has particular syntactic devices that Piraha doesn't have. But Piraha doesn't want the information content.
It would overload them.
Yeah, they don't read or write their language.
They gotta think about poison mushrooms and shit instead of talking
There's a lot of noise in the village. Everybody's yelling and running around and the jungle's loud. So you repeat things a lot and you have simple sentences. So you get across eventually the same amount of information, but it takes a little bit longer to do it.
The hyper-specialization of human beings in a distinct environment is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, they're the same species, and presumably, I mean, every culture makes its own choices about how to communicate and how densely to pack their language, how information-rich it should be.
Is English the most dense?
English is certainly one of the most, but...
Is German denser?
Well, German has these long words, you know, German packs the information into sentences like English does, but it also packs it more into words than English does. Mm-hmm. So German's at least as information-rich as English. Mm-hmm. It's difficult after a certain point to measure and say which one is more information.
The reason I started thinking about it was because we dubbed a video into Japanese, and in order to have the voice come out at normal speed, we had to have the video be twice as long in Japanese versus the English.
Yeah, and that's not surprising. Many Asian languages, Japanese, not quite the same as Mandarin, but still in Japanese, you have a lower, arguably lower information rate, so you need more syllables to get across.
What are the top 5 most information-dense languages?
Well, I don't know if anybody's come out with a really good list of those, but certainly English is right up there and German is. The languages that have the longest written traditions, although both Japanese and Mandarin have long written traditions, but their writing systems are very different. So the ones that have our alphabetic writing system and have had that for a long time, certainly in the writing, they're very information dense, and that affects the speaking. If you interview an English speaker from a rural part of America or any part of America who, I don't want to,
Walmart people, poor people, disgusting.
Our cultures play a major role in how we talk. And the way we talk affects our cultures. So they're sort of in a relationship, a symbiotic relationship.
You could call it a vicious cycle for some of these people.
Yeah. So your culture tells you what's appropriate to say, when to say it. It tells you how much you have to say. So, if you watch any exchange, a person more powerful is going to talk differently than the less powerful people.
Talking a high pitch in some cultures.
Yeah.
The top guys talking like this. Hey. Some cultures actually say in the language, say less.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
I'm British. How are you today, sir?
I lived in England for several years, and that was one of the most difficult things to adapt to because when I first started
how ugly
talking...
They are?
What?
Oh, you couldn't understand what they were saying?
I couldn't understand what they were saying. I'd go to a restaurant and the waiter would walk up and say something to me. I'd say, I have no idea what you just said.
You're just supposed to spit in his face at that point.
Yeah. And then when he would bring me
with a mouthful of cracked teeth, he's going, soggy trumpet, soggy ginger biscuit.
They also use words in different ways. So when the waiter brings you food, he'll say, thank you, sir. I can't understand why he's thanking me. He brought me the food, but...
You ever study Ebonics?
Yes.
What kind of stuff you get into with that?
Well,
you ever study how people in Maryland talk?
Yeah.
How Maryland black people talk?
There are a couple of very good documentaries about the technical term that's used is African American vernacular. Mm-hmm. It is quite different, but the interesting thing is most African Americans speak two dialects or two languages. They speak African American vernacular, but they also speak standard English because
Code switching.
It's code switching. They go back and forth, and because they have to for cultural reasons, because of the racism and how that's attached to the way people talk.
Type in Baltimore accent. You'd probably call it an accent, Baltimore accent.
Yeah.
Oh, that my dog, dig it. That my dig it, Matthew.
When your focus on your young knock.
Are these British guys?
Some 2053 type right here. You know what I mean?
Do you think the mayor speaks the language?
Definitely speaks the goot.
Mayor Scott. Mayor Scott, man. That's my goot.
The goot?
Yeah, that's great.
Crazy.
Southern white English is also hard to understand for me sometimes.
I like the Southern guys. One guy said, someone we were making, there was a problem that we were sort of compounding by trying to fix it together. And he said, you're this cat, I'm just holding the tail. I thought that was funny.
That's a good expression, yeah.
Were you still dating the same girl, or were you like picking different, or being a player in the jungle?
Oh, I was never a player. I had a really lovely Piraha woman came. She was married, but that doesn't inhibit your freedom. And she came up to me, and there were other women standing around. She says, "You want to get on top of me?" And I said, "I have a wife. You just want one woman?" I said, "Well, yeah, I just want one woman." She turns around. She said, "He just wants one woman." And they all started laughing and everything. She walked away.
Damn.
But, one woman did say the same thing, and so I was working in the house by myself. My family wasn't in there at that time, so she just came in and took off her dress and sat there naked on the floor and repeated the question, and I still said no. That's Christian missionary.
There's so few of them. If I were to show a picture, you would recognize some of them, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. It's a young boy in the village.
You literally do remember him?
I remember them all very well, but because they change names frequently, I wouldn't be able to tell you what his name is now. This guy is one of my teachers. I know all these guys.
Now I want to see the chicks that propositioned you. If I type in Piraha woman, go back.
Oh, so this that woman, she's attractive. My kids had culture shock. When we first got there, my daughter said, "These are really ugly people." But 6 months later, she said, "These are really beautiful people. These are the most beautiful people,
You don't want that one.
Yeah.
You don't want this.
Her name is Yabigabikabi. I use Pirahan names for all my passwords.
Well, don't tell people that. You're going to lose all your crypto.
How do they name themselves? How do they come up with names?
You're given a name based on some characteristic. You might be named after an animal. There's another guy named Wagai O'ai, which means big night, big dark night. But they would name foreigners after a Piraha they remind them of. So when I first got there, I reminded them of this guy named Ogiai. So my name was Ogiai. But then when you get older and you have these life transitions, so a guy came up to me and he said, "I'm going to call you I Big Eye now. Your previous name is spoiled, rotten. So we don't want to use that anymore." And then finally, they gave me the name Pau Aisi, which is what they know me by now because I'm so old.
What's that mean? Old, crusty piece?
The guy named me after his father, who was dead, who died really old. And I said, "Do I look like your father?" He said, "No, you're just old like my father was." And they just find Americans incredibly old looking, even when we're not old.
It sounds insulting.
It is moderately insulting because they consider themselves beautiful and they consider us largely ugly. They're nice to us and they don't mind experimenting. Sex is a very popular recreation. But they don't have TVs and they don't have movie theaters, so sex is one of the most popular forms of recreation.
Do you think board games would completely disrupt their culture?
No. They wouldn't want anything to do with board games.
They'd throw that in the river.
Yeah. That would mean nothing to them whatsoever.
For this iteration of the call segment, we're relying solely on submissions from our MDE.TV subscribers. We asked them to cite a quote that makes them go, whoa. Let's see what our linguistically advanced audience has to say. Dan, as a man with word knowledge, please share your thoughts on these.
Secrets of the Millionaire Mindset presents Get Rich Quick. All this could be yours. Give us a call on 434-2255-726. You could be making up to $4,917 per week. Now you can get your copy of Secrets of the Millionaire Mindset for just $19.99 for a limited time only.
Have you ever noticed that the universe and every little bit of the universe is always hardening and narrowing and coming to a point? I mean this. If you dip into any college or school or parish or family, anything you like, at a given point in its history, you always find that there was a time before that point when there was more elbow room and contrast weren't quite so sharp, and that there's going to be a time after that point when there is even less room for indecision and choices are even more momentous. Good is always getting better, and bad is always getting worse. The possibilities of even apparent neutrality are always diminishing. The whole thing is sorting itself out all the time, coming to a point, getting sharper and harder.
What the is that? Is that the guy? Is that the user's voice?
Yeah, we have a user that sounds that way.
Did he write the quote?
I don't know. I was thinking about searching it, like searching the.
That sounds like something straight off of who's that guru guy? Sad Guru? Yeah, this guy. Sounds like this guy.
Oh, Sadhguru, yeah.
Sad Guru.
Did you even understand the quote?
Yeah, but this is so far away from the Pagans philosophy.
Well, I don't want to know about the Pagans. I think we milked the savage part.
Yeah.
We got enough of that.
Yeah, okay.
What do you just think of this, whatever this is?
It's interesting to compare Eastern philosophies like this with Western philosophies.
Can you first of all explain what he said? Because I didn't hear it and I wouldn't have understood it if I did hear it.
The direction of time and how things are moving from less complexity to more complexity and moving to a point.
Things are moving from less complexity to more complexity?
If I understood him properly. Choices are getting more complex. There's a sense in which that's true, of course, because...
I just mean the first sentence. Hold on here. The first sentence that the universe...
is always hardening and narrowing and coming to a point.
That means all the possible things that could happen are resolving into one thing that is happening.
Yeah, I mean, physics would call that the singularity, where, a black hole.
Is that what a singularity is?
Well, if everything's coming to a point, and that point is all there is, that is like a physical singularity. However...
Well, if you're talking about a physical, like a three-dimensional point, yeah, but I think this quote is talking about, like, I could strip my clothes off and run out of this room. I could just remain sitting here. There's all sorts of possible things that I could be doing.
Right.
But there's one, as the moment approaches, what I choose to actually do is the point that is hardened and resolved, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's likely what it means, but it could, there are any number of ways of interpreting that. But yeah, so in other words, history is going from less complex to more focused, more dispersed to more focused. That is a possible interpretation of the world. It's not my interpretation of the world, but it's what he's saying there. From C.S. Lewis.
Oh, it says there at the bottom, it says that it's arguing that over time situations tend to become more morally decisive, ambiguity and neutrality shrink, and people, institutions, and societies increasingly reveal what they really are. Can you type in what does that mean? Take that text, copy it. Yeah, there we go.
Okay, so the claim is that Lewis is making a claim about the direction of moral life. History is not static, it's a process.
Oh.
Yeah, history is a process. People do gradually become the result of their choices.
Wow,
the country
look at
western
that.
singer George Jones made that, and he had a song called Choices, that his life is the result of all the choices he made.
Yeah.
So you could say that is something like true.
That's good. I like that quote. I wish we didn't have a smoky Indian guy reading it sexually into a
I thought he was Eastern European or something.
Serbian. 1 inch away from a
smoky.
We are the result of our choices. We've all gotten here to where we are in our lives because in our youth, we could have chosen anything. There were so many choices before us, and every choice we make turns off another choice. And so you're narrowing your path. In that sense, all possibilities have narrowed based on the choices that you've made. And people can't remain indefinitely in the middle. Life won't let you not make choices. You have to make these choices. There are some choices that many people make that you might not make, but there are other choices that you do make. We can't get by without choosing where we're going to put our feet.
We become just by doing acts.
Ancestors and our fellow citizens from the past. I mean, the fact that Abraham Lincoln decided to fight the Civil War to keep the South part of the U.S., which I think was a mistake, he affected my life. Because eventually, my family fought in the Civil War. They were from the South, but fought for the North. They were imprisoned by Bedford Forrest, who founded the KKK, and that led them to move to California. It affected my life.
Scroll up, that's important. I can always decide later, maybe, but later you'll be a different person.
Yeah, I mean, this also goes back to Heraclitus, a Greek philosopher who said it's not possible to step in the same river twice because the river's changed as the water flows by the next time I step into it. So is it the same river? And there's a sense in which it might be. We perceive it, but there's a sense in which it's not. And it's the same thing with us. I'm not the person I used to be. I'm a person because I'm united. All my memories are united somehow, but I remember things incorrectly. We all remember things incorrectly, so we're not even sure who we are.
The ship of Theseus idea is fascinating. You know what you would really might vibe with? You know who Michael Levin is?
No.
He's like a biologist guy, but what he talks about is how we are, our bodies are these, they're masses of self-directed cells, and the cells all have their own agenda, and the groups that sort of the cells kind of mass themselves into, they have their own agendas.
Right.
And this entire like bag of guts that we're, get his face off the screen. You think
we're going to be walking in the park with him in October.
I'm not going to be 3 inches away from him making dreamy eye contact.
You don't know that.
or looking at him like in the Jarvis meme.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. You know, why don't we live forever? Because cells are always multiplying, and I mean, some cells die.
Well, you would
but
say
then
it's
new
because
cells come
God
in.
doesn't want that. It's not part of the plan.
Right. So that's what scientists
Thank you.
are trying to overcome. Is God's plan?
That's true.
Yeah.
And we're gonna.
Yeah. Well, that could happen.
It will happen.
Yeah.
From historical Christianity, MEMEnto Mori. Remember that you have to die.
What do you think about that shit?
Yeah. I mean, everybody has to die. So many things in our life are MEMEnto Mori.
What do you think about the garbled, the audio codec that makes it sound like it sounds like it has a wetness to it?
It did, yeah. He pulled
Isn't
it out.
that strange?
ASMR.
Aquarium.
That's not his lips on the microphone.
Oh.
That's the audio codec.
From historical...
Well, a MEMEnto Mori can be anything that reminds you of death, but that is a profound fact about life, is that we're all going to die.
A memento mori from like the ancient Roman use would have been like a thing that reminds you of death, right?
Right.
But is it in the Christian sense, isn't it that you remember you have to die?
Well, the literal meaning is the same for the Romans and the Christians, but
because it's Roman language.
Yeah.
But a
Latin.
Christian would have said to remember that you have to die, right?
Well, they use it to teach that, yes, because that's a very important part of Christianity, because the whole point of most religions is to say you don't actually have to die. Join us and you don't die.
So trite. That is so offensive to me. We're recording the screen, right?
Yeah.
That is also annoying. It doesn't remind this doesn't remind me that I have to die. It reminds me that the most creative and talented and in touch with their creativity artists can't get escape velocity to basically stop doing live, laugh, love and Banksy. Don't Google images like this. I'd rather look at a corpse. It's not the death that's bothering me. It's the look up live, look up gore. Get the penis catfish off the screen. This guy right here. The first one, first image. That's your memento mori right there. What do you have to say about death?
Well, it's a cultural phenomenon. I mean, it's a biological phenomenon because everybody's going to die, but the reaction to it is a cultural phenomenon. And in some cultures, religion tells us it's not real. We look like we're dead, but in fact, we're still living. We're immortal. The Pagans, for example, think that when you die, you're dead. That's the end of it. Many other groups agree with them. Buddhism, Hinduism believe that it's this constant cycle, and what you want to do is to stop being reborn. So when a Christian missionary tells Hindu, you need to be born again, that's the last thing they want, because that's what they're trying to stop doing, is being born again as different creatures and different experiences. So cultures have different views of death, and some people are incredibly afraid of it, and other cultures see it as just something natural. It's going to happen. We don't focus on it. We don't sit around worrying about it. It's going to come for us in its own time.
All right, so that's the encyclopedia overview. What do you think about it, though?
I'm going to die, but not tomorrow, I hope. I have a lot of stuff I want to do.
Timer.
That was eerie.
Time to die. That's all you have to say about it?
You know, I know that I'm going to die. I have a lot of projects. I'm very happy with my life. I'm very satisfied with my life. I have lots of things I want to finish. But a lot of people in my life that I love very much have already died, some young, some old. So I know it's coming for me, and I know it doesn't really care what projects I'm involved in, but then I don't really care about it either. I'm going to do what I do until I can't do it anymore.
One quick question. There's guys like Scott Adams that were like, you know, they are supposedly atheists, and then when it comes down to it, right before they die, they don't want to, you know, mess it up in case there is, you know, a God and Jesus, so they'll put in their 2 cents and convert last minute. Do you think you'll get a little bit scared before you die and you'll convert back?
Well, I can't say what'll happen to me just before I die, but I cannot imagine the circumstances under which I would convert and do anything like that. My uncle fought with the Marines in the first wave in Asia in World War II in Peleliu, which was the worst battle of World War II, and he saw lots of men die. And he said that the last word most men said when they died was "mama." That's what he heard more than anything else. So there were some conversions, but mainly he just heard grown men crying for their mother when they were dying.
I think we got to give Scott Adams more credit than that. I think he probably was legit. He was such a know-it-all. He absolutely would have held the line to the end. I think he probably was genuine.
He Pascal's wagered, basically?
A know-it-all would know not to do that.
Not to Pascal's wager?
Pascal's wager is what?
Where you're like, well, if I...
Pascal's wager is...
in a sense.
I got it conflated with
You're going to bet that there is no God, and I'm going to bet that there is a God. And the consequences, if there is no God, for me, are null. But if there is a God, the consequences for you are hell. So you're better off to bet with me.
The smarty pants atheist guys, I think they know not to do that. I don't think that's what Scott did. What is Laplace's demon?
Oh, Resident Evil,
The exact position and momentum of every particle in the universe at a single instant. Such an intelligence could calculate every event in the future and every event in the past. This is like Newtonian physics. Without quantum physics, you would be able to predict the future.
I mean, the typical conservative Christian view of God is pretty much that he's outside of time and he sees it all, everything at once. So there's no past, no future. It's just all right there in front of him.
Go to YouTube. Can we see what Scott Adams' last video was?
Christian friends and Christian followers say to me, Scott, you still have time. You should convert to Christianity. And I usually just let that sit because that's not an argument I want to have. I've not been a believer, but I also have respect for any Christian who goes out of their way to try to convert me. You're going to hear for the first time today that it is my plan to convert. So I still have time, but my understanding is you're never too late. I do believe that the dominant Christian theory is that I would wake up in heaven if I have a good life. Yeah, I don't necessarily have to just state something in advance. And so, to my Christian friends, yes, it's coming. So you don't need to talk me into it. I'm now convinced that the risk-reward is completely smart.
So your perspective, you valued the Piraha. You respect their empiricism. They only believe in what they directly see.
Right.
Well, they brainwashed them. They're savages.
Yeah.
Let's all pray for Scott Adams and hope that he is in heaven, though.
This is the exact opposite conclusion that another profound intellectual, Christopher Hitchens, made.
You would call him a profound intellectual?
His writings about history and politics and economic systems were always, I thought, very insightful. But in any case, when he was dying of esophageal cancer, he got the same Christians talking to him about converting, and he said, the first part of this he would have agreed with. He thanked them for their concern and for their genuine belief and faith, and that means they have to try to convert him. But he refused to, do that. That would have been turning his back on everything that he had ever believed in.
He decided that his own stubbornness and lifelong adherence to making that face right there, his lifelong adherence to being a philosophical manifestation of that face is worth going to hell for. That sucks.
Yeah.
We could pray for Christopher Hitchens too.
Could you ever fathom anything that would make you convert? Not even just to Christianity,
I did convert. I mean, when I was 17, those things, I converted. I was a very sincere convert, and I know the Bible. I mean, my undergraduate college major was the Bible. So I read it. I can read the Bible, the New Testament in Greek, and I know the Bible better than probably 99% of Christians, and those are the things that got me to convert. However, the things that led me to no longer believe in those things, basically science and that negating superstition, I can't imagine the circumstances under which I would go back. However, I have 2 daughters that are profound believers. Their faith means the world to them, and I don't respect them any less for that. They've reached a different conclusion, and I will admit that it's possible that I could wake up in hell. I'm hoping that I'm not going to, but
you don't have any coincidences or anything in your whole entire life where you would think someone would be looking out for you, or?
When I believed, when I was a believer, I interpreted many things like that, but to me, they're just incidents that happened, and some of them are similar and most of them are dissimilar. I don't base my life on anecdotes. I prefer to base my life on scientific statistical generalizations that hold true across multiple examples. So if you tell me you saw a miracle, I would want to do a test. So there have been tests, for example, where hospitals, the terminally ill, they looked at the effect of prayer, people praying for the sick and people not sick that weren't prayed for, and there was no difference in mortality rate. So
wait, what about there's Eucharistic miracles and there's other medical miracles that go beyond?
Well, these are anecdotes. These are things that are claimed. I don't believe in a single miracle. I don't believe in miracles. I used to believe in miracles, but these are not things that stand up, in my experience, to scientific validation. The first guy I talked to about going to the Amazon, he was a missionary in the Amazon, and they brought him a guy who was swollen up and purple with a snake bite, who was clearly close to death. And he sat by him and prayed all night, and in the morning, the guy was well. And he considered that a miracle.
Should have renamed that guy Purple Johnny.
Yeah. But I would never be able to convince him that wasn't a miracle, because he believed it was a miracle, and it happened right in front of his face. I've had some things happen to me, like somebody come along at just the right time and help save my family's life when we were dying of malaria. But I'm just glad that happened, but I don't consider it a miracle. The original meaning of miracle in Greek is sign. It's a sign. Fuller definition of miracle is a violation of the natural order. It's something that can't be explained by natural processes and physics or biology or chemistry. And I don't believe such processes exist.
What does Founding Father have to say?
Lots.
I do not exist at the bottom, and I do not exist at the top. Sadness or happiness doesn't matter. I only try to live in the middle third. And that is something I'm very happy to do.
That was like with the tribes people, how they live in tiers.
He wants to live in the middle third. Mm-hmm. Most people don't want to stand out. They don't want to be the worst. They don't necessarily want to be the best, because with that, a lot of people want to be famous and they get well known, or they make a lot of money and they find that's not exactly the way they expected it to be. So for many people, it's just safer to stay in the middle. And just enjoy your life. And that's a very Piraha way of being, for example. Nobody wants to be recognized as better or worse than anybody else. They all perceive themselves as pretty middle of the road representatives of the things they are familiar with.
When I was a child, I caught a fleeting glimpse out of the corner of my eye. I turned to look, but it was gone. I cannot put my finger on it now. The child is grown. The dream is gone.
Antonio Banderas there, not Antonio Rivera.
Yeah.
That's Antonio Banderas with the quote. And this is about the loss of your spark of childhood dreaming and possibility and innocence, and your joie de vivre, which is a sort of very black-pilled gay thing to even read a quote about.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that again is could be interpreted as another example of choices. We see that thing and we don't go after it, we don't explore it, and we're told and we believe that that was not worth looking into, or it's just something that doesn't matter. And then we regret it later on, but now it's too late because we made the choice to ignore it. You know, if somebody's filming something, they're making choices about what to include and what not to include. And sometimes, you know, what you chose not to include might have been the secret, might have been the key to the secret that you were trying to figure out.
I think that quote is like a feeling sorry for yourself type thing. Like you're nostalgic for your beautiful innocence as a child. You could have been this great thing. That's the context that I've heard it in. It's from The Fly.
It's very similar, where he's like, I had a dream I was a man, and I love that dream or something, but the dream is over.
You need to fight to capture that, to hone in on and be in touch with the fountain of creation and goodness, the sort of live wire that is underneath all the crap that gets, all the decroded crap that sits atop it. You have to fight to tap into that.
This is the white-pilled version of it. When I was a child, I spoke like a child. I thought like a child, reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I gave up childish ways.
Okay.
To which I would say, thank God.
Verbally back.
Yeah, you can't spend your whole life chasing around the globe.
Right, exactly.
Memento.
Yeah.
When I was growing up and disappointed my father or did something I shouldn't have done, he would tell me, Evan, if half the men alive had your constitution, the world would be on fire. It's something I think about even now in my 30s, and I've set myself up well, got a good community, friends, got a good gal. Even with everything kind of laying in place, I'm still tested to be good. It's just something that I think about and would like for others to consider as they go throughout their lives. We can do a lot of good, and we can do a lot of bad.
If you have that compulsion, that sort of mischievous delight in havoc, you should try to weaponize that for good. I mean, you can still be a force for good and have fun and be nasty with it.
It's a good balance. Yeah, it's hard to get
being
the balance.
Being a good person doesn't mean being a boring person that doesn't have fun, right?
Yeah. Just don't do bath salts or what is Fart Star saying these days?
This quote is from St. Paisos. He's an Orthodox saint. He said, "Do not believe your thoughts, neither when they tell you that you're terrible, nor when they tell you that you're a saint." You know, whether you acknowledge it or not, we're dealing with the spiritual world, and tearing ourselves down and pulling ourselves down into despair is of Satan, and it's not of God. You know, God wants us to overcome despair every day and bear our crosses and live through the light of Christ. So, you know, at the same time, we can't think of ourselves as God's gift to this earth and act like hot shit all the time. So, love you guys. Thanks.
You can't be evaluating your own. I mean, I agree with the quote.
Somebody told me thoughts are neutral. We give them positive or negative connotation.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, if you think something like I'm really great, I don't think that's a neutral thought. I think that's like a...
Well, then just don't think about it.
It's probably an evil thought.
Don't give it any sort of... Just let it sit there and then it fades away like a little cloud.
I agree
it's not
with
neutral, though.
I agree with what
that's
you
not
do
neutral?
with that thing. No, it's not neutral, but...
If you say...
Ejecting a thought like that, it means it's not a neutral thought. It means it's a thought that can...
Well, if you look at it from that perspective...
do damage.
Or you could say, oh, my brain thought that, and then you just... Boom.
That sounds like reject insane thoughts.
The non-neutral thing.
Reject
inject
thought
the bad non-neutral thought. Eject it.
Categorize the non-neutral for sure thoughts.
Now you're putting too many words. See, you're doing it. You're doing what I just said. Don't
categorize
give it
thoughts
a positive
and
or
eject
negative.
them based on how
not neutral.
Think anything you want as long as you can control it.
You cannot control them.
We all have bad thoughts, and nobody would want to walk around with a magic device that projects your thoughts onto a screen for everybody else to see.
I don't have bad thoughts.
It's not even... Valentine doesn't have bad thoughts, but it's not even that you'd be ashamed to have other people know them. It's that you would do like unspeakable damage to yourself by holding these thoughts and opinions and acting on them.
That's also true, and acting on them is the real problem. If you have negative thoughts and act on them, that's bad. I talked to somebody one time who had said something and offended a woman, and he was disciplined by his place of work. And I said, you know, a lot of people have those thoughts. They just don't say them, you know? And when you say them, you cross over into public behavior, and that's what causes problems.
Well, offending a woman is the worst possible outcome.
For him, it was.
For us as well.
Yeah.
It's objective, Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah, a quote from Charles Dickens, Christmas Carol. We forge the chains we wear in life. Yeah, that one think about a lot. God bless.
That's very true.
The choices that we make affect our freedom. Every choice narrows our potential outcome. I mean, Henry David Thoreau said, men lead lives of quiet desperation because we've put ourselves in employment and pursuit of wealth and things that don't make us happy, but we have to act like they do. And you know, so when I see people who live in the United States, one thing that made hippies so appealing to me in the 60s was tune in, turn on, and drop out. Live your own life and stay out of society. It turned out that wasn't possible, at least for me, although living alone out in the middle of nowhere in the Amazon was pretty close to it. And I did not miss laws and parking tickets and fixing cars and all that. But now that I'm in this society, there are things that I have to do because I've chosen to do this, and those are like, some of it is wonderfully rewarding, and some of it is like chains that I've put on myself.
But there were no chains in the Amazon.
Except for marriage. But
couldn't get away.
Can't spank other people's babies either.
That too, yeah.
There's always a chain because we've always made choices, but they were a lot freer. I felt a lot freer at that time.
We got to find a Goldilocks zone.
You know, we do have a call from an ex-hippie. 44
let's
seconds.
hit that, yeah.
Yeah, when I got to college, I started hanging out with hippies, and they're the worst people in the world. I started smoking pot and dropping acid, and I was a leftist. They pretend to be, they call themselves empaths, so they're literally like all psychopaths. But luckily I've reformed. I've cut back on, it was awful. Yeah, hippies are the worst. They are the worst people.
Well, we knew different hippies, that's for
true.
sure.
That is true, to be
Couple
fair.
years apart.
There's a generational difference.
In my time, we called ourselves flower children. It was gentleness, and it was living off the land and producing your own food and taking psychedelics, but also taking baths. And so it was very different. For me, my experience as a hippie didn't have anything to do with squalor or living in dirt, and there was no particular political perspective, except we didn't want to be involved in politics. We wanted to be outside of it.
Was there a belief system behind a lot of the hippies of your generation? Because our modern hippies, they're like yogis. They're getting into Eastern philosophy, and when you really dig deep, they are like basically modern like pagans. Like they do rituals. I've dated girls like this, and they were like always pretty cooked, as it were, in a bad way.
Yeah, well, that also happened in the 60s. So, you know, Eastern religion was very popular, and autobiography of a yogi was a very popular book, and the Maharishi that took the Beatles off to India, you know, everybody was looking towards Indian religion. George Harrison, and I'm very grateful to him for this, introduced Indian music into pop culture.
Thank goodness.
But people they rejected the West, and they're looking for alternatives, and the East provided a great alternative, except I don't consider it any more liberating than the West, and I eventually felt that it was all kind of immature and silly. So I enjoyed it while I was there, but then I left it. John Lennon felt the same thing after coming back from India. He felt like he had been hoodwinked, and he didn't really like that stuff. George never changed his mind, apparently.
2 more calls, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Live, laugh, love.
Keep it simple. That's from Tent?
Yeah.
Thank you, Tent.
Status relevant.
Yeah, that was marked manually as relevant.
A society grows great when old men plant trees in whose shade they shall never sit.
And whose what? I
Shade
didn't
they
hear.
shall never
In
sit.
whose shade they shall never sit. When the
Oh, right.
Climb
That's
trees or
cool.
plant trees?
plant.
I thought he said climb trees. That threw the whole
Did he
quote
say
off.
climb?
I think he said plant.
Let's hear.
A society grows great when old men plant trees in whose shade they shall never sit.
Interesting. It's like a Yanny Laurel situation.
It's a new perspective. We have
He
to
did
kind
say
of
plant, but it sounds like climb because he's
Yeah.
Australian or something.
Yeah.
Clout.
Sort of what parents try to do, you know? You want to provide for your kids even though you're never going to get the benefit from it.
Well, they say we climb trees to avoid predators, and that's how we survived. When
Plant
evolution.
trees to get the fruit
No, I understand
and
this.
eat it
Yes.
and make candy
Yummy.
Sorry, I went off on a whole different
and
tangent.
wood for furniture.
In the jungle, is it true that we see the most shades of green out of any other color because we were predators at one point?
Yeah, so we did have all of our early experiences as a species in the jungle, but in the jungle there's really only green and blue. There aren't many other colors. You do see red sometimes.
From the blood.
It's one reason the Pitaha don't have any words for color. You don't really need words for color when you're out. If something's ripe or it's not ripe or it looks like a tree or it looks like water. Anything that's green can hide in the jungle, and animals are well adapt to it. So you get some beautiful green snakes that I've almost put my hand on before.
I did hear that the Russian people have no word for blue. They have a word for light blue and they have a word for dark blue. So when they're tested, if there's like they see light blue and it slowly gets darker until it's dark blue, they register an actual hard switch. Yeah. Whereas the Westerners, we just see a spectrum that's going from light blue to darker blue to dark blue.
That sounds like nonsense to me.
Language affects the way we think. The language we speak affects the way we think. But the experiments that show that, like the one you just cited, if you're given plenty of time to think, that effect disappears. It works when you're forced to do things very quickly. Then your language affects your cognition. But if you're given time to think, the effect disappears.
Sure.
So our language doesn't determine how we think, it influences it when we're working fast.
The very spark. What about the idea of the African languages, they don't have a concept of the future, so they don't really act in a way that would be aware of consequence.
Well, I think we got racism covered here.
Yeah.
Our racism light just went out too. Anti-racism.
Time's up for racism.
Nice.
All right, last call.
Okay.
What do you think about the fact that blacks have no brains and they're always being committing crimes?
I don't think I mentioned that.
Brian Rivera.
Of course you did.
No, I did not. It's fascinating.
Probably when I first read The Way of the Superior Man, and it talked about unadorned suffering, and my whole life I was being a bitch that would bitch about everything, and sort of that's what clicked in my head. You kind of just have to sit with it and accept it and be chill with it.
That's a good book, The Way of the Superior Man. I would recommend it still.
That's cool.
One more, Alan Griffith? Or that was the last one? Last one?
Alan G. Hit him.
Alan G.
Do not expect the benefits of work from leisure.
That's cool.
Do not expect the benefits of work from nature?
Didn't sound complex or profound.
Don't expect the effects or the rewards of work from leisure.
Okay.
Is that what he said?
Yes.
Leisure has its own rewards. And
racism lights on.
Back
Go.
They're dumb. No, I'm just kidding.
It does.
Yeah. It also doesn't strike me as particularly profound.
I was kidding when I said that before.
You might have needed to hear it though. If you're not working hard enough, don't expect the rewards of hard work from leisure.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of people do need to hear that, even though it's not.
Don't expect the effects of leisure and hard work either.
Indeed.
Memento leisure.
Yeah.
You're not going to turn your job into play unless you are making music.
Unless you're Luke Valentine.
That's the show. Big thanks to our guest, Dr. I just call him Daniel.
Yeah.
Or Dan. Dr. Daniel Everett. Grab his book, Don't Sleep, There Are Snakes, wherever you buy your books. And find more at danieleverett.com. Dan, thanks for coming out of the jungle for us. See you all next week.
Thank you very much.
Or in 2 weeks, or at a random time. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Wait, hold on.
This is very different from what I actually expected.
That's always good when we hear it.
Yeah, I'm going on Joe Rogan in 3 weeks.
Wow.
Tell Joe I said hi.
The Sam Hyde Show.